Every time Africa conducts elections, you hear of African countries calling for donors. And donors coming in, European Union giving money for voter education, verification of voters, materials, voting materials. Some of these projects are done in conjunction with the donor countries. But has the donor become a burden on the economy? Or has the election become a burden on economy? On the economies of African countries? The answer is yes. If you look at most of the African countries, there's no African country that holds election without borrowing money from the donors. Why do we borrow money from the donors, then we refuse accountability? Because we have borrowed their money, you must tell them how much, how far, and how fair, how true, how transparent this election has been. But when it comes to telling the truth of transparency, credibility, openness of an election, African countries, most of them don't want to say fairness, free and fair elections, whether they were conducted freely as per the donors' instructions. What does this do to the economy? An economy like Kenya that has just come out of COVID-19 thanks to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta steering the country out of COVID-19. We should give him an applause. I saw somewhere that I don't know whether it's a true story, that CNN had selected him as one of the prize winners, the Nobel Prize winner. I don't know, Miriam, you have not checked that story. I don't know whether it is a true story. But I think Uhuru has handled, and I did handle, as far as Kenya's economy. Some of the economies in Africa are reeling from the bad pandemic that took place across the continent. We thank Uhuru for having steered us through this hardship. But then comes an election on top of this after the hardship. Do we pay for these elections ourselves? Yes, partly the money is borrowed. We borrow money. But do we get value for this election? Do we get value? Doesn't it affect our economy? You are borrowing 62 billion shillings to pump into an exercise of 6 hours. Because in Kenya, the climax is 6 hours. The rest of the money is either corruptly eaten by clerical officers, the chairman of these commissions, the managing directors of these commissions, in purchasing the ingredients. One, in purchasing ballot papers, in purchasing VVR machines, in hiring experts for data, so on and so on and so forth. Extra, extra, extra. Is this the election that Africa wants? Yes, elections are good to measure our democracy. But do we need such an expensive election in Africa, really? If that is what it is, let every African country look at its economy. That every 5 years you have to spend 100 billion shillings or dollars or $10 billion to run an exercise where you are going to beat each other. I think time has come for us to rethink about whether elections in Africa is viable or not. Do we need elections where prices of goods are raised, of commodities, of the parts, that all the instruments that go with elections are raised or corruptly increased or ballooned for the sake of the few people earning money, extra kickbacks. The donor, what role does the donor play? The donor plays a very vital role. But why do donors watch and helplessly cry at the end of the election that this election was not free and fair? Yet, when they are pumping in money, the conditions they put are not the conditions that they follow. That is my submission. Elections in Africa, therefore, are a burden to the economies of Africa. We are two small economies. We have the young growing economies. We don't need elections every 5 years. I think it is time for us to think as to whether we need elections every 5 years, or we need elections every 10 years, or we need elections every 1 year, or we don't need them. It is up to you, people in Kenya, in Uganda, in Ethiopia, everywhere, where you have seen elections sparking chaos. Think again. That is my position. That is my take. Thank you. Good morning, or good afternoon, good morning, good evening, across the globe, wherever you are. Thank you.
Peace and unity define our primordial foundation on which Kenya has stood in defining its nationhood and creed. And as Kenyans head for elections in August 2022, we must be driven by clear conscience to vote for peace and national unity. Kenyans are firm believers in cohesive society, and this is the reason many of our great leaders and Kenyans of all walks have consistently paid homage in song and dance, our collective strength arising from our melting pot of cultural diversity. Peace is the embodiment of our collective hope, zeal, and desire to build a greater common good for Kenyans. As Kenya goes to the polls later this year, every Kenyan must remember that elections are transient, but Kenya remains. We must therefore stand on guard to protect unity and together in diversity. As a country, we can collectively go far when we all embrace peace and national unity as part of the ongoing political campaigns during and even after the 2022 polls. We remember that the year 2018 remains focal in our history because it reminds us of greatness of a republic among the community of nations when we rose above parochial politics to concert our efforts to building national peace and unity. We must all think in reflection of President Kenyatta's consistent call for national unity and peace. In the famous words of our national anthem, "May we dwell in unity that endures all Kenyan generations. Unity is the pedestal of our collective effort to build better and stronger society."
Across the continent of Africa, independent candidates are not independent at all. Independent candidates in the democracies of Africa are very few, except the case of South Africa, where we have the real independent candidates who come in with independent agenda, which is contrary to the opposition and to the government. But they stand neutral in the middle, so that when the government and opposition are hitting each other in parliament, the independent candidate brings an alternative which would help the governance of a state. Across in Kenya, today we see so many independent candidates. They are independent candidates by per se, but they are not independent. They have linings, they lean against with the parties, they dine with the parties, they even mention, they use symbols of the parties to win elections. The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission of Kenya should have actually specified exactly what type of independence we mean. You cannot have one candidate who has lost the election in the primaries, in nominations, switching off to another, to independent candidature, and then he says, I support the president, the presidential vote should be given to X or to Y, to Raila or to Ruto or to so and so, but you give me my vote as an independent candidate. Such a behavior is not an election. That is a play of students in primary school in Butere girls. Because when you look at those type of things that happen in countries in Africa, the question of independent candidates in my country, Uganda, for example, all of them, about 120 of them, turned up to be part and parcel of the same government, the same party that they rejected. So where is the independence? If you go to parliament, if you go to campaign and talk about the main party that give the vote to the president of that party which you left, are you independent? Independence should mean independence. Independence should produce independent candidates. If you are independent, then you must have independent ideas that are different from the party, and they should not be part of the parties. That you should not even borrow a manifesto from any of the parties, but be in your own manifesto, like in civilized democracies, the democracies that Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, Max Weber, Karl Marx talked about. Less than that, we are very far from being independent and having independent candidates in African parliaments. Thank you.
Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television. This is Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center right in Nairobi. Thank you very much, viewers across the continent of Africa. And those watching us, those who will watch us, those who will pick this clip, thank you very much for your custom and patronage. This afternoon, I am joined by none other than the chief herself, Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon, Miriam.
Very good afternoon to you, Doc, and good afternoon to our viewers, and good morning, good evening, because I know our viewers watch us from across the globe.
Thank you very much. We shall begin with Kenyan newspapers. Then we come to the main topic. Today we have cut it down very quickly. We don't want to waste much time. We are looking at a subject that touches the entire Africa. The entire Africa seems to be in a state of quagmire, a quagmire state when it comes to elections. And we make mistakes. We do make mistakes, then blame the West. We created these wars ourselves. And then we blame the West. We create all this fighting, all this. We lay down a background. You know someone has no degree, and you clear him to become your boss tomorrow. Then you say, the West, the West, the West. the West. We are blaming the Western countries, at times wrongly. We create these problems ourselves. You don't like your deputy president, you like your deputy president, you don't like your president, yet you are elected on the same ticket, then you blame the West. You do different things from what the president is saying, then you do your blame on the West, and then blame others for the mistakes that you have yourself committed. Viewers across the continent of Africa, you will be seeing quite plenty of this, not only in one country, in several countries in Africa where problems have been. Sit tight. If you want to join us. Today we'll be joined live from somewhere in Kenya by one of our correspondents, in-house editors for investigative journalism, Mr. Sean Daniel Wesonga. Good afternoon, Wesonga.
Yes, a very good afternoon to you, Dr. Matsanga David, at our headquarters. Good afternoon to my colleague, Miriam Ogutu, our viewers, and the entire crew of Punchline Africa TV. It is my pleasure to be on the conversation this particular Sunday afternoon.
I like the background where you are. It looks nice and Mama Mia. So I hope it will bring good things also from where you are right now. But thank you very much. Back to the studio. We have quite lined up very serious headlines, and Miriam will take over from there. I have been warned not to. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So let me just take us through the headlines this afternoon on two of Kenya's leading newspapers. Okay. The Sunday Nation, the main headlines: scramble for the undecided voters, 2 months to voting day. Why are opinion polls still showing that 4.4 million Kenyans have not yet made up their mind on who to choose as president, and what are the leading candidates doing to woo them? Inside the minds of the undecided, and plans Ruto and Raila are rolling out to capture this crucial block that could tilt the scales in this close contest. The story is on page 7. How we lost jobs and cash searching for elections glory. They left high-flying careers and lofty offices for the dirty game of politics, but millions of shillings later, they will not be on the ballot. They narrate the good, the bad, and the ugly of running for office. The stories on page 20 and 21. And then 14 billion Kenya shillings loot in Kenya for online fraudsters. That is on page 3. And then we turn our attention to the Sunday Standard. The main headline, the spy masters and political power play. That is on page 8. House of Disgrace, how Parliament caved into executive. That is on Weekly in View. Review pages 21, 22, 23, all the way to page 24. And then it's blame game over rising cost of basic goods. That is on the business page on page 32 and 33. And Karua, this is what I bring to the table. That is an exclusive interview she did with the Sunday Standard. So that is what we have, the front pages of the leading newspapers today, Doc.
Thank you very much, viewers. That is exactly what we have. Let me begin with the simplest one. Scramble for undecided votes. Let's hear from Wesonga, if he's online now. First, before we do the summary ourselves. Daniel Wesonga, what do you think about the scramble of the votes? Make your points very clear, straight, cap 1, 2, 3, 4. Is the vote still scrambled for? Do we have scrambled votes? Are people scrambling for the votes? Undecided. This is a previous formula.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga. And I believe in that particular question, the answer is very simple. You know, most of the people who were still undecided actually took their side the moment these presidential candidates actually selected their running mates. And we've seen Raila Odinga going for Martha Karua. It's actually a game changer in that even the rest of the other two candidates, with the exception of William Ruto, have female running mates. So this is actually a pointer that this election, if is about a moment, a historic moment where women leadership is going to come to the fore. And therefore, I don't think there might be a scramble for votes as yet because, all of these people actually decided. And maybe if the opinion pollsters are getting that we still have a big chunk of undecided people, then I think they should do a bit of some good homework. But in as much as the information that is out there, the information that is within the intelligence networks, even of the government, is that the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Party presidential candidate and running mates are actually ahead of the other presidential contenders. And I think it's going to be a first round win. And therefore, this question of undecided voters and the scramble for them does not really much add up, because the period of less than 60 days to the main election is quite a short period of time, Dr. Masanga, for us to have such a huge number of voters who are still undecided. I submit.
So your reasoning is that because the period is short, people have already made up their minds. Is it so?
Absolutely, Dr. Matsanga. People have already taken sides and the election has already shaped up.
It has shaped up after the inclusion of the running mates.
Absolutely.
What do you think about running mates of third force? Not running mate. What do you think about the third force of Wachikoya?
I think if you look at it critically, there's some euphoria which is coming to fore in regards to the candidature of George Wachikoya, who is your friend in the olden days. You have a long history with him. But we have to remember also that...
I have a long history with him, that I gave him a job, but I never did what he did. So I have to make myself very clear, isn't it, Miriam? I employed him as my bouncer on my nightclub. Because the way things are shaping up now, people might think both of us are interested in marijuana. So I distance myself. I have never smoked a cigarette in my life. I hate anybody, even in my own children. Anyone who touches a cigarette is never a friend of Dr. Matsanga, or who smokes anything beyond his life is never a friend. If you come to my house, you fast and you are smoking, I smell your smoke, you will not make my carpet catch that smoke. You will leave. The same to my wife, that's the same. We are straightforward people. We rather have a house without smoke smelling on the carpet. Especially British carpets, they catch smoke, they don't go away. So I have nothing. Yes, as a friend, yeah, he met me in London. I did not meet him in London. He met me.
Yes,
he found me in London. He came after the Ouko death. I don't know what he did, what he did, what he has done, I don't know. Because these are some of the obstacles we shall see in part 2, the challenges we make for ourselves. The laws of this country are very clear that once you are caught with bangi or smoking or planting it, you go to jail. So we have allowed now the police, I don't know what the police have said. I've seen a statement from Inspector General of Police. Miriam, you've seen it? It's a very strong statement. They will not attend any rally. They will disperse any rally that advocates for...
But 10 of them will be protecting him while he
No, I don't
smokes.
think they have been given.
No, according to the law, once you've been cleared, you have to be given.
Miriam, you are right. We are coming there. There's something, you have a point there. The law is very clear. But is there no law also which says there is no bangi to be grown anywhere?
Yeah, it's illegal.
So now, how did Chebukati clear someone when he has the law on the Constitution? So that's what we are coming to. We are going to discuss that in part 2, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen out there. I and Miriam and Wesonga, it is going to be hot here. Which law have we not followed? Which one have we followed? How do we clear candidates? When the law of the constitution says bangi is banned, outlawed in Kenya, then you clear symbols of bangi. What do you think? What happened to Kebukati this time? I'm not against Wachikoya. Wachikoya has a right. And for me, if he starts, I also start, because he has never employed me. I employed him. So, and 2 in age, I defeat him on age. He's younger than me. So we can talk, because I see, you see, I'm seeing a danger of this nation disintegrating. Did you see it like I see? I see something wrong.
But
do you know? Wait first.
Yeah.
Let me finish my point, because I've talked about the nation disintegrating. It is going to, if we don't talk about it now. You are now rising, Miriam. We are bringing people on a street. People who are determined to have their man elected. Believe me or not, you will not remove them. This, you know, this is like a long battle, which is long drawn regime change. You know, regime change comes like this, Miriam, slowly. These men, there are many people, millions who smoke this thing quietly.
Yes.
And now there is no way you are going to tell them their candidate is not online. You have already brought him on the ballot. You have ignored the Constitution of Republic of Kenya, which outlaws marijuana. Are you the chairman of the Electoral Commission? You have your own constitution. How many people on this election have brought a symbol of a ghost? I'm asking people out there, can you bring a symbol of a dead coffin and use it? Let me speak and be killed. Bring a dead body and go to the IEBC and say, this is my symbol.
His symbol is roots.
Roots?
Yeah,
Which type of roots?
Just, that's
he went further to roots.
Yeah.
No, it's roots. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Wachikoya. I'm giving an example.
Okay.
But you are going to advocate about marijuana. Why don't we first clean the Constitution, remove that article that bars marijuana, and then now outlaw, remove law, let it be a law abide that anybody in Kenya can start smoking. But already you have created this class struggle within the election. People who love Mr. Wachikoya will go and vote. Have you not rigged the election? You have segregated marijuana users to flock. You don't be shocked if Wachikoya comes out with 2.5 million people. I'm telling you, he could easily force a runoff. I'm not against him, but I'm now telling you the facts that are on the ground. And most of the runoff, the people, if there is a runoff in this country, the people who smoke this thing will not flow with Raila. They will flow with Hasola. Had you seen that? I'm not against marijuana. You can smoke it. And my brother has a right to have his party. And he's a very consistent man. And I'll never say anybody word here which is against him. But I will say the things that will affect overall picture of a Kenya that we want. The children that we are bringing up. The people we are telling you that don't go and pick don't smoke anything. If you have your child, your son in school, he says he comes with a mkorokoto ya marijuana is You
Yes.
leave him in a house and you come back and say, hello, James, what is this smoke about? He said, Mom, it is now official.
Yes.
I'll smoke it. What will you do? You want to beat him? Yes,
And-
in the
and actually-
evidence. Marijuana
Dr.
has got a lot. So, first, we should have gone to the law, removed the law. Chebukati would have asked the parliament to remove these laws that prohibit instigation and incitement. The police law, penal code, charge sheet is very clear, still there. So thank you very much, viewers. I leave it to Miriam at a point. You say something about marijuana. About
And then I just
Yeah.
needed to clarify that the symbol for Roots Party is the roots, not the weed.
is the
trees.
roots.
Yes.
But the content of the Roots Party is based on marijuana.
That is
Yes.
just a section of it, because
Yeah.
he's also talking about moving
Snakes.
the capital city to Isiolo.
Yeah, there are so many things.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the things
So
in
that is just a part of it.
some of the things in Wachikoya's manifesto, if we see it, some of them, and like 4 days, to work 4 days in Africa, and give Muslims Friday free. Those are things that Kenyans can decide on. So what do you do on the so if you are giving Kenyans free, do you also give others Friday free? No, Sunday.
And Dr. Mats, we would ask if, economies like America, China, Japan, and the West, where we are maybe looking forward to be in the next maybe couple of decades, are working almost 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. How then will we be able to overtake them if we are only taking 4 days to work, and having the rest of the days to party and smoke marijuana? So I think, Miriam, some of the proposals that are being brought forward by Professor Jakoya are a bit populist. And like Dr. Mazanga said, there's a very, very thin line between whatever Professor Jakoya is advocating for and whatever the supporters of William Ruto, the Hustler Nation, believe in. And that is why if we had to go for a runoff because of Wajakoya, then you know where the vote basket of Wajakoya will actually shift and tip the balance. So it's really, really a big risk that we are having in this kind of candidature.
But all of this, Miriam, there are good things in Wajakoya's manifesto. For example, killing thieves. Mr. Wajakoya, me on that one, firing squad. I agree with you. Anybody who touches money which is meant for the civilians, that one funga, throw the keys. But you said you give him the rap of, again, marijuana to hunger himself. Don't simplify it that way, Professor. Make it stronger, that before we throw you in the cliff in Taita Taveta, we shoot you first. 2 bullets inside the head, then you can go and tell God, I stole money. Singapore killed the people. The Prime Minister killed the people. Today, Singapore, we go and beg money. It is even funding our election. We have got some money from Singapore for this election. Singapore is in the Commonwealth, headed by the Queen, Her Majesty, the chief human rights defender on planet Earth. Is Her Majesty, the Queen of England, my queen. She defends the rights of all people. That's why she has 54 countries meeting in Rwanda next week. They are united with speaking English. Even those who are not English speakers have converted, like Rwanda, Kagame is converted, like Mozambique has converted. Because the Commonwealth has values. not the values of legalizing. Even in the Commonwealth, where the human rights started in Britain, they have not legalized marijuana. I tell you the truth. If you are found with marijuana in the UK, the police will search your car, dogs will come, and then you are taken in custody. Which country? Kenya, to legalize it or to start on that platform. There are good things Wachikoya has suggested.
Yeah, and he's not saying for it to be legalized to be used locally. It is for industrial hemp, but I know with that also that will mean
industrial
for selling outside.
Medium.
Is what he's saying. But of course that will mean there will be a lot of access for this.
Who is going
locally.
to safeguard between industrial and consumption?
I think that's where we will draw the... And do you know his solution for devolution? He's saying we should go back to the 8 provinces. So he wants to get rid of...
That one, he has a point. There is no need of giving too much people governors. On that one, Mr. Wachikoya, you have a point. You know, for me, I give a credit where it is due. The only contentious issue is going to come on this thing here, that thing. But the rest of this, some of the things, suggestions, Wachikoya is saying we go to the previous provinces and have not elected. He's not in for elected governors. He's in for a direct administration from the center. So that they don't, because once you go to the former regions and you get, how will you elect a governor from that region? So you send a provisional commissioner who is a Kikuyu, who can be the Western provisional commissioner, who will inspect the roads without bias, who will give jobs in his office without bias. Some of these governors have loaded their offices with their nephews, nieces, brothers, cousins, extended family, brothers, sisters-in-law, and they are paying them, which was not the case from people one county. That one I agree with him. Another thing that he has done?
No, it's just because I think the bank part usually overshadows everything.
Yeah,
else.
I don't know. No, the media also. The media. We have made a mistake. There are very, very many good things in Wachikoya's. Let's study his manifesto.
Yeah.
And but we have fronted the Bangi part.
Yes.
The marijuana Bangi part is the one on top. Even when he is being interviewed, they start with marijuana first.
And now
because it's a new thing. It's a new thing to the to Kenyans. There has never been a candidate who has ever come out to say that I elect me on the ticket of smoking and exporting marijuana. And let's be very honest, marijuana now is becoming, we are only realizing it too late. But Americans have been growing marijuana in Afghanistan. And the cocaine has been flowing. We arrest, we take people from the coast for drug dealing, and then we go and detain them in the US.
I was actually watching a documentary on Al Jazeera early today in the morning, and they were looking at the something to do with drugs and how the CIA and even China was really known to deal with drugs in the 1950s and 60s as it was building its economy. So it's a very intricate. So that's how a lot of these countries actually build themselves to where they are. The use of a lot of drugs, and of course CIA, the US, they're really, really in the thick of it. So they would use, and I think they still do, their planes and all that in and out of these places they are to carry, drugs to the US back with them.
I think Onyango can join us. Onyango, wherever you are, you can join us. You're asking us about the snakes. It is also, Medium, can you comment on that? Me, I had my share.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I think those are some of the suggestions or some of the parts of this manifesto that takes the spotlight. But a lot of other things that could be something Kenyans should think about don't really get the limelight. So I'll digress from that, and I'd like to take us back to the topic you started with, and that is on the Sunday Nation on page 7. About the undecided, the scramble for undecided, 4.4 million undecided voters. And perhaps what I'd like to know is, and maybe you could ask that question, is why are these 4.4 million Kenyan voters undecided? Were they supporting one side of the divide? I'm assuming a lot of them could be on the other side of the divide, and maybe they had made up their mind about voting for maybe William Ruto or Raila, and then I don't know if it has anything to do with the kind of running mates they chose, or I don't know, by these two selling their agenda so much, so people are not very sure whether they should still stay with the candidate they wanted, or they feel like they're being convinced to join the other side. What could be some of the reasons why, Daniel, perhaps, we have this huge number of undecided voters?
Miriam, in essence, I don't think these undecided voters are really undecided. If they're going to be casting, our worry should be actually about the turnout. But behind the mind of every, what they call the undecided voters, is their preferred candidate if they are to cast the ballot. You remember after Raila Odinga selected his running mate, and William Ruto also had his time to select their candidates, we had these people who were saying, okay, I was not maybe planning to go and cast my ballot in this election, but because of this running mate, I'm actually going to cast my ballot for this presidential ticket. So that was when the major dynamic shift in the Kenyan political sphere, and more specifically the presidential contest, actually took shape. So for these 4-point-something million voters who are deemed to be perhaps undecided, I think we have to agree that there is a margin of error, and behind their mind, behind their perception of what the election might be, there is a preferred candidate if push had to come to shove. So our worry should be, are these undecided voters going to cast their ballot? And if it is yes, then they might as well be preempted to have their preferred candidate. But if these undecided voters are not going to cast their ballot, then that is all the same, a different story, Miriam. So to me, I think these numbers should be actually be looked at in two different ways. In that, in one essence, we shall be looking at the voter turnout, and if these undecided voters are going to turn out to vote, then the dynamic shift might change. But if they are not going to cast their ballot, then whatever dynamics that the opinion pollsters are holding at the moment might actually be true. So that is how I look at it, Miriam.
Okay, all right. Before we start on I know we already started on our topic this afternoon.
Let's look at the, you go ahead.
Okay, all right.
I cut you. Yes, before we start, where do we go? The standard?
Yeah, the issue of the spy masters.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Sorry about it.
Yeah.
You see, there is one thing that the media could do. It either builds a nation or destroys it. We are now narrowing down to very, very serious stupidity that and the debate has been brought about the intelligence systems. Intelligence systems work for a nation. They don't work for individuals. The safety of an intelligence of any country depends on the intelligence network. And that intelligence network is to safeguard the nation. So intelligence networks don't dismember nations. What the media in Kenya is creating is a narrative. Is a narrative that this vote will be won with the help of the intelligence. You get my point? Which is wrong. It was, you see, the other time it was not so. But because Ruto has gone this side, and now he wants to label it on Raila Amolo Odinga, that if he wins because the intelligence is with him. Intelligence of a nation is to safeguard it from external and internal enemies. It is not to do with politics. Of course, it engages in gathering of information. An intelligence network will gather information, intel, where the hot spots will be, and forward that information to the relevant bodies to react. But for you to start this type of headlines is being brought by people who are paid late at night to change the headlines to look like this. And Miriam, we have been watching this go on, but we are destroying our own country. Because if you now already you say, before even the vote is cast, you have already started pointing out to the system that this was done wrongly. But they are not going, the newspapers, the headline, the editors in these headlines, like this one of Standard, that man called, there is the editor, friend of mine, Kemboy, not Kemboy. Kemboy is the other younger man. The editor of Standard himself, his name should be somewhere. There is always a name on this. There is a place where they used to say the editors are this and that. He's a very great friend of mine. Very, very great friend of mine. If you know the name, you send it to us. He is a very good analyst. Because in 2007, yeah, it is somewhere here, but I can't see the names. Nowadays, they have removed. Where there is editorial, they usually put the names, but these newspapers have changed. Yeah, the Standard. Editor-in-Chief. Chief Executive Officer, Editor-in-Chief is Ochenyi Rapuro, and Editor Daily John Bundotich. I think that, yes. So these are the top people who make decision which story should go. And if they are not careful, they can plunge this country into a very terrible nightmare. The same, if the paper starts apportioning blame, Miriam, are you with me?
I'm listening.
Apportioning blame, my sister. We have apportioned blame to the editor, to the spy agencies. It is them, not the people of Kenya voting. It's very wrong. It should be discouraged because the editors must be neutral. We are the fourth estate. The way I've just talked about Wachikoya, I've given Wachikoya out of his manifesto like 7 points, 7 to 8 points. But I disagreed with one, which I believe that other people will disagree with. That is, we are against the Constitution, yet we want the laws to be followed. So the editors of these newspapers must be very careful, otherwise it becomes very noisy. Yes, thank you very much. We are also joined by, I think how many people are there? Onyango and who? There's another one there.
There's Douglas.
And Douglas Kirimi.
Yes.
Oh, my son, Douglas Kirimi. Welcome to the show, Douglas Kirimi and Paul Onyango. I was waiting to welcome Douglas officially next week. You have a date with me on Wednesday next week, Douglas. But welcome to the show. Good. How is Meru?
Good afternoon, Dr. David Matsanga, and thank you for the welcome. And good afternoon to Miriam Ogutu, Sean Wetonga, and our other guests. Thank you for having me on the show, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Fine. I am sure this debate of marijuana has excited you. Good afternoon. Tell us something. When let Onyango also test the microphone, then I begin with you briefly to tell us how excited, how sad are the churches, the mosques, how sad are the people who are dealing with younger generation. Then Onyango, can you test the microphone, please?
Thank you, Dr. Masanga, Miriam Ogutu, Sian Wesonga, and Mr. Kirimi. I'm welcome.
Okay, Miriam, we have Douglas. Let Douglas tell us a bit about this brother, senior man, friend of ours. You know, I and Douglas, we are friends of Wajikoya. Wajikoya worked with Douglas's father, late. They were together in one unit. And Douglas is my friend because of the father. And Wajikoya is my friend because of virtue of having met, and I gave him a job. So Douglas, your opinion, Uncle is out here now, is out to get the votes. What do we do?
Thank you, Dr. David Matanga. I believe that our friend Dr. George Roshiri Wajokoya's manifesto, and especially the point on legalizing marijuana in our country, is out of place. I don't believe my father would be proud of Wajakoya having come out clearly that we should be able to legalize marijuana for smoking school kids or younger people, the younger generation, to go out there smoking bang because the president who said probably wants it regularized in our country. I have seen the effects of bang in our communities. I've seen how lives have been rendered useless and people have been able to lead reckless and also careless lives because of bang in our country. And I wouldn't anticipate a president or a presidential candidate or a leader in any capacity, whether a president or member of county assembly, member of parliament, or even senators and governors, suggesting that we should be able to legalize marijuana. And actually he said he's going to smoke marijuana in parliament, in State House when he is elected. Though his chances of getting elected are slim, Dr. David Masanga, I think this is not the way we should be able to take our country. I believe our country, all Africa, will get to a position where we can be able to legalize marijuana for medicinal use and not for smoking the way George Wajakoya says in his manifesto. And he is exciting a lot of people because I think this is a populist idea. This is a populist plan that cannot be able to get well with us, people who have uphold right morals in our country and who would want a generation of young people or even young leaders who lead this country into prosperity and into a working nation, Dr. David Masanga. I do not believe from a personal perspective that legalizing bang and asking people that you are going to smoke bang in State House is giving the right example to our generation. We have a government that has been fighting these added drugs in schools, in secondary schools, in universities and colleges across the nation, and we do not want to get to a situation where we as a people, we as a people or as a country, Dr. David Masanga, we have a problem that has been able to be spearheaded by one of the top contenders for the presidential seat in this country. So I believe I differ with my friend, Professor George Wajakoya, a man that you helped in London. I think you should have spoken to him before he talked about the whole issue of legalizing bang in this country and making sure that we can be able to smoke it freely the way people smoke cigarettes or maybe in some secluded places. I think bang is not right for our young generation, but I think bang is good for us. Marijuana is good for us if it's used for medicinal use or export only, not legalizing bang for the people of Kenya.
Douglas, sorry, I'm interjecting. That is what Wajakoya is saying. He's not saying grow this weed and sell it to school kids. And of course, I know it will be easier to access. But what he's saying is we grow it. I don't know if he's proposing in controlled areas, or I don't know how that is going to happen for export outside of the country and for medicinal value, not for it to be distributed and to be legalized so that people could be walking around the street smoking. He's not advocating for that. And he does not smoke himself. That is what he said.
Unless Miriam vacated his earlier position, he said he is going to smoke bang for the first time in State House so that he can cause coronal demons and actually encourage the people of Kenya after he starts smoking as a president, that if we, the people of Kenya, should be able to smoke it. And Miriam, I want us to look at it the way we look at the issue of export cigarettes for exports. In this country, we have a brand of cigarettes that are called illegal cigarettes. They are not bad. I believe they are called exports for a reason, because they are for outside the country markets. But we find some of these illegal cigarettes are permitted across the country and people are selling them. And when you run in trouble, there are so many people that are misusing because they are also very cheap, Miriam. So Wajakoya's idea is not far away from the truth, Miriam. He is advocating for bang in our country to be legalized like cigarettes the way we have that issue, Miriam. We are going to contend with big pandemic after coronavirus if Wajakoya's idea or his presidential bid takes off in this country. But I pray that he doesn't win, because, Miriam, this is a huge pandemic for our own young people. I pray that you'll get another job, that the president's job is not fit for him. He is my friend, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to vote for him to legalize bang in our country. Thank you, Miriam.
And Douglas, of course, outside of that bang, he has also another 11 points in his manifesto, among other things that he seeks to do should he be elected as the country's president. Do you think his candidacy might cause some level of disruption in terms of votes?
Miriam, I think from my own perspective, Dr. Wajakoya's position in the presidential race is going to cut off some of William Ruto's fake Asra narrative votes, such that William Ruto is going to lose in a big margin, rather than the way you would have lost it to Raila Odinga before. I believe Dr. Wajakoya's candidature is going to cause an upheaval in William Ruto's camp, and Raila Odinga is going to be elected as the 50th president of the Republic of Kenya. I believe that Professor Wajakoya's candidature is a blessing in disguise for us as a people and even supporters of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I also believe that, Miriam, that we needed a third force that is going to disrupt the Asra narrative in this country, where we, the people of Kenya, have been advocating for a working nation, and William Ruto has been promising free good days to the people of Kenya. At least the people who would have voted for William Ruto because he cares for the people, for the poor people, or pro-young people, we have another candidate that is going to get more votes, maybe 1 million plus votes that would have gone to William Ruto and maybe brought him closer to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. But I believe now the coming of Wajakoya is also a blessing in this case, because now he is going to be denied a majority in opposition politics in this country, because we shall have another opposition voice in George Wajakoya's candidature, Miriam. Because if we engage with what we are seeing, young people speaking from different parts of the country or posting on social media, Miriam, these young people who are supposed to be voting for William Ruto as another alternative, they're going to vote for George Wajakoya. And that cuts into size the votes of Dr. William Ruto, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And that will straight away send him to opposition. And then the Right Honorable Raila Odinga will also command a wider lead, because, Miriam, like I've said before, I have worked before for the last 6 months in Meru to make sure that we can now be able to determine which percentage is going to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And in the same percentage that was supposed to go to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and also the Right Honorable deputy president, and also now that we have Wajakoya, people are now shifting base from William Ruto, and some also from, to be fair, from Raila Odinga to Wajakoya. So the percentage of voters in Meru who had a two choice, or in Central Kenya who had a two choice for president, have a three choice for the same. So it's going to disrupt the electoral cycle the way we know it, and also the arithmetics of William Ruto are now messed. Miriam, I agree. So William Ruto should prepare for a more shock. So where in areas where he anticipated to get more votes, that is not going to happen in this country, Miriam, especially now that a man has promised to legalize marijuana and come and mess up with our country completely, Miriam. I don't think that William Ruto can command a lead in some counties the way he anticipated before.
Do we have that many people drawn to marijuana like that, that it will actually be a basis that will tilt to these elections, Douglas? But I'll come back to you. I'd like to hear from Paul. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miriam.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts, I've been amazed by Dr. Wajakoya. His marijuana thing. You know, our current youth, our current society, the moral decay has a very large percentage composed of the youths. Now, the police, even in the estates around that we live, the police, the people that are battling with those who are taking bang are just these young people. Some in school, some are out of school. So when Wajakoya makes such statements, he's appealing to the youth, not to the older generation. So my question is, these youths, are they the voters, or they are the hecklers, or the people who shout around? That's the question that somebody should ponder about. Second to that, in early years when I was young, we used to have people who were smoking bang even in my community. But I saw there was such a discipline such that even if you were herding cows, you could find an older person want to take it, would go in a very secret place, or he would chase us away, move far away from me, I want to do something. He would do it with a lot of gentle and respect. You would know that he has smoked it. What he was to do, that older person would ensure that we are younger generation, we do not know the use of that weed or the use of that substance. It's preventing us from getting exposed to it when we still don't know about it. But the generation of today, these young people don't care. They just do it open. They only look around. Maybe sometimes police would pounce on them, arrest them. They find themselves in police cells. The bangi talk is not a very good talk in the society we have today. It's a very bad talk. Even if Wajakoya was to do the commercial bit of it, where it is being used for industrial purpose or for making medicine, we are still far away from doing that. Even our food crops that we do farming currently, the government has already failed, even with the Galana Kulalo. It has not been a success. So what about this weed is talking about? It will really completely mess us around, that you won't even imagine that could be the thing. Second, he had also another idea about snake farming. It's also very interesting. Snake farming, I'm not saying it is bad. What about our religious, our African culture, about somebody who taking care of snakes, even the ones that we know around? You will be associated with the devil worshipping, or we associated with bad things in the society. So Wajakoya is very controversial with many things that he proposes. They could be good or they could be right for the country. But does he consider that the society that we live in, do we accept it as something genuine, or we want to, the larger population will start looking at it in a very dark corner that will paint it very bad? So the larger percentage of people who are in the religion sector, or older people, the policy of bangi and the snake farming does not go down well with very many people. Wajakoya is only appealing to the younger generation, mostly those who didn't not have votes. That's my take.
Some news coming in from Western Kenya says Wetangula has eaten fair. Breaking news. So, as we stabilize news coming in from Western Kenya indicate Wetangula has eaten fair. You know these days the ladies. But by the way, all of you younger people on the platform, be careful about ladies who post their pictures as being very beautiful. But when she asks you for money for fare, she arrives when she's very ugly. Or she doesn't arrive at all. So please stop this behavior. Wetangula has now shown with William Samoei Ruto that the fare has been eaten. And Mr. Farouk Kibet is very upset. The whole breaking trending news. Have you seen it, Wesonga? It's trending. They arrived in a church in Wetangula's constituency. He was not available. Wetangula amekula fare ya mzee. Farouk was heard saying, where is he? So the way things are standing. And by the way, media, I'm not to take you to Anna. I'm the veteran here. For any crop in this country, you know, while you are doing whatever you are doing, talking, I was thinking, for any crop in this country to be grown officially for export, it must be cleared. A policy paper must come from the Ministry of Agriculture. So as far as we are concerned, any stock of marijuana on a public rally, you are supposed to be arrested, all of you. Are you with me? I am now being constitutional. Either digging it or even talking to Kenyans openly about it. You are supposed, unfortunately, there will be no many police cells to hold all these guys. But in a developed country, whether you are 200, they will take you to a stadium, Alayu Mungu. In Britain, they will lock you in Wembley until you are given a charge sheet. Yes, you cannot get marijuana and go to a rally and say we are here smoking it. Police will raid that rally, beat you up to River Thames. Wachikoya has lived in London. Asiambie watu wa Afrika sasa aanze kuambia sisi wa Afrika. We are all Africans. We have lived in London. I've lived there longer than him. You cannot make up a statement of that nature and kill people's children. You know, this is going to be dangerous. Let's not behave like a Malcolm X. My tears want to come out. I don't want to say the words. I see something. God has just shown me some vision right now. I will share it with you, Miriam. Right now, as I was speaking, something has just clipped in my brain. You know? Do you know the mess we have now? Terrorism in Somalia started that way. There are people who are taking our things. If kafir is here, or kafiri, where this, there are demonists. There are demons here. We must smoke them out. It started like that in Somalia. Oh. Today, we have Somalia in very big chaos. Things are falling apart. To summarize this topic, and we move on to a very serious topic.
Just a quick rejoinder.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, on just a different thought, I think yourself, Douglas, and my brother Paul and Miriam have raised a very, very valid points on Wajakoya's candidature. Maybe just as an afterthought, we were able to see also in 2013 a candidate of Wajakoya's kind by the name Abdu Badida coming on board, and actually he caused a lot of excitement across the country. Now, the key question may be, as we come to conclusion on this, will this excitement about Wajakoya's candidacy and his agenda translate into votes, owing to the fact that Kenyans, in more than the 59 years since independence, we have always voted on a tribal line basis? Will it actually now cause a dynamic shift, and maybe like in Madagascar or maybe like in Ukraine, see maybe a candidate of this kind maybe clinching a considerable number of votes? So that might perhaps be the question that will linger as we look at this particular topic as well.
But also, as just basing it on what you just said, and of course you brought up the example of Abdu Badida, who according to Google here, it's reminding us he only garnered about 14,107 votes when he ran as a presidential candidate. But I think that there is a difference between Abdu Badida and Wajakoya because of the constituency they are looking to influence. When you look at the kind of people that are appealing, that Jakoya is appealing to, it's quite different, and it's quite large, perhaps, compared to perhaps the kind of people that Abdu Badida was appealing to, and his agenda he was appealing to in 2017. So he could be, maybe not so much, but he could be able to gather more than the 14,000 votes that Abdu Badida got in 2017.
Miriam.
Yes.
What I think the Wajakoya excitement is all about in this country, before we had two candidates, the two leading presidential candidates, you are either in Azimio or you are either in UDA. And people were excited by the idea of a man who claims to have been selling chicken, ascending to the highest office in land, calling himself a Asra or a poor man. But at this stage, we have a person that is speaking the language of the streets. There are so many people who are passionate about Bang and other things in this country, but they are not actually partakers of the same. These are the same constituents of voters who get excited by the reggae music, and the same kind of voters do not take Bang, but they subscribe to the reggae music. We saw last night when Wajakoya got into a concert in Embu, and people were so excited, and people were singing along with him and listening to him and all that. But if you listen to him, he is not solid. The manifesto is not solid. The way he speaks to the people is not even solid. But that particular excited constituency of voters, if you look at it, is a constituency of voters that can shift from William Ruto's Asra narrative and stick to Wajakoya's regularization of bang or marijuana in this country and actually vote for him, or maybe in the mix, do not even vote for him, but keep the excitement out of the two leading presidential candidates, and then we have one of them taking the seat, and one becoming the president, and the other one the leader of opposition, Miriam. Because even in 2013, we had a social media president in the name of Peter Kenneth. And Peter Kenneth excited a whole lot of people on social media for a whole period of time. But when the push came to the shove, people voted for President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and Peter Kenneth got a paltry percentage of the votes. But for Wajakoya, he has brought the new energy that we saw that has been fizzling out from the Kenya Kwanza team or the UDA presidential candidate in the name of William Ruto. That which would have gone to the election and would have caused a very serious damage to anybody's ambition if it is attached to the person of William Ruto. This excitement, I think, is also a blessing to both Wajakoya and also to both to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, because the people that are the core constituency of the right Honorable Raila Odinga are going to vote for him. And the people who are now excited are going to shift from William Ruto's camp and vote for Wajakoya. Though Wajakoya is not going to garner enough votes to become president of the Republic of Kenya, now it also seals the deal for both of them. The Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga and also Wajakoya, who will also elevate his position in the society. Thank you.
So now I think from the conversation we've been having, it could be safe to say that these 4.4 million voters could be the younger people who maybe a lot of them registered for the first time and they really they've been finding difficulties in accepting the agendas being sold by these political coalitions like, Kenya Kwanza or Raila. They can't relate to the history and all that, and what has been going on. And for them, they've been looking for a new fresh blood. So to them, maybe I'm not sure if that is what that poll suggested. This 4.4 million undecided voters could be a huge chunk of the young people as we know them in this country. So, Doc, you're asking who is to blame on what?
Who is to blame on all this? To Chikoya? He presented his papers. Yes.
IEBC.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the next topic.
Why are we blaming IEBC? We can't leave that topic like that.
Yeah, it is coming. It is the one coming up.
Yes.
Coming up, Vivian.
Because Wajakoya has not done any wrong.
No.
As far as we are concerned, he's not broken any law.
Yes.
So why are we blaming anybody for what is happening?
No, now it brings us. In fact, for Wajakoya, he has done nothing.
I can't even believe I'm advocating for him.
But for Wajakoya, he presented his papers with his manifesto.
He's not broken the law.
Now we move up to another stage. And why the topic, I chose this topic, Miriam, we chose this topic as the editorial. Do we create the mess in Africa and blame the West after that? Are we not, Douglas, Daniel, and Paul, Miriam, and the viewers, are we not planting a mess in this election? Then tomorrow we shall be crying, blaming this one or that one interfered this. Are we not? Don't we do these things in Africa? Let me we take 1 minute interval and then come back. We can have a clip of the mess, any clip of the mess for us to, that's the new topic coming now, any clip of the conflicts that come as a result of elections.
Across the continent of Africa, electoral bodies or institutions are mandated to conduct elections in a free, fair, transparent manner. The history of Africa is replete of several difficulties emanating from elections and electoral bodies. Electoral bodies in Africa, institutions, have never been, apart from 2 or 3 countries, in the rest of Africa, have been the cause and the main source of conflicts. The preparations of an election is not a one-day exercise of casting the vote. It is the voter education. It is the cleaning of the voter register. It is the preparations of the candidatures of various candidates that will come into this election. But while this is taking place in many countries, especially in South Africa, where they do the election very smoothly, the rest of Africa has got a shortfall. In the countries, namely Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, Malawi, Mozambique, in countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, in countries like Libya, in countries in West Africa, in Ghana, yes, it has also been relatively not bad. But in most of the countries, in Guinea, some of these countries have had very serious consequences, fights, violence after the announcement of results. Coming back home, the Electoral Commission of Kenya has been, for the last 4 years, with only 3 commissioners. The rest of the commissioners came in last year. The preparations of the election for 2022 have not been adequate. Some shortfalls are beginning to show. Fatigue evaluation exercise is needed. Candidates are given different dates. Extensions are given without the consent of the courts. There is likelihood that people will go back to court after the elections have been conducted and disagree and file petitions against the same elections. I therefore maintain that Kenyans and the Kenyan Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission must stick to the point, must stick to one goal post, not several goal posts, must not change goal posts, which suits the different key players or stakeholders. By the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, Article 81, they are supposed to conduct a competent, accountable, impartial elections. But if you are going to tell people dates and change dates without going through the court process, it doesn't become competent. Is there a question of incompetence, partiality? Is there a question of non-accountability that is coming up? What has caused the problem? The malaise in the IEBC. Is it the money? Have they got enough resources? Were there enough resources to be given? Did the government give them enough resources to conduct this? Some of the shortfalls that we see. These questions remain to you, Kenyans. It is up to you to clean your mess. The mess can be cleaned. The parliament is still alive. The parliament is still alive. The unfairness within the judicial, unfairness within the electoral systems is beginning to show up daily. Independent electoral candidates cannot have the same privilege like those that have already not resigned from the government. Those with baggages of integrity have been thrown to the IEBC. Is it the role of the IEBC to reflect